Welcome in, everybody. RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here. Jon is also here. We're both back in one room. We're both back here to cover DC United. We each manned a show. We each took a nice little well-earned vacation. And the punishment for leaving the other person hanging on the show is that we had to do a show by ourselves on itself.
Yep.
And I feel like we were rewarded with that, Jon, because we have some coach tactics to talk about. We have an exciting Spirit game to talk about.
Kind of.
Yeah. And we have a singular player rumor. We are just blessed, my friend. We are blessed with stuff to talk about after weeks and weeks and weeks of nothing to talk about. We are now blessed with stuff to talk about.
This show's going to go 4 hours long because there's so much to talk about for the first time ever.
Yes, exactly. How you doing, my friend? How was your vacation? I hope
I'm rested. I had to come back to work today and go through 7 million emails and get up to speed, which is not ideal. But no, I can't complain. I did went to Busch Gardens, went to water country, went fishing with my dad, went to the beach, did a lot of crammed a lot of stuff into a week. What was your vacation?
My vacation was also beach for a week, so I was out at the beach relaxing. Walked on the beach during the Austin game, which was a good decision. Not watching that mess of a game. But yeah, it was fun, and I think I can speak for everybody and Tom Flanagan that I was going to go somewhere with that and completely lost it. But Kevin Flanagan is no longer the coach of his team, and he looked very, very, very happy about it. Like he was finally ready just to go back and do his day job.
Back to take a back step into the hedge, a la Homer Simpson, and never to be heard from or seen again. Yeah.
And the Spirit are in El Salvador playing in games that happen when you actually win.
Alianza, right?
Exactly. But yeah, everything's good, and we're here to talk DC United and Washington Spirit as well. We're here to talk both teams. So should we jump into? So I don't know if we had a chance to really break down the press conference, the whole shenanigans with that whole thing. Apparently, it was visa related. Was
Flanagan's? Yep.
Yeah, they apparently thought that the visa was going to come soon. Maybe they got some assurances from their lawyer, who knows. They still have not rescheduled that press conference. I don't think they will ever reschedule.
I don't think they will either, because I don't think the attendance is high enough for them to warrant it, honestly.
No.
There will I think we'll put this in now instead of chronologically. Very strange to note, the post-game press conference for the first game in charge for the new coach, no one was there. There was no phone call, there was no in-person media, there was staff feeding him 2 questions. And I don't want to say it looked like a hostage video, but it looked like a hostage video. I don't know if they even posted it, honestly. I know that it came to us, through the press release. Mm-hmm. I'm not curious. I actually don't know if it's actually live anywhere. If it is, check it out. I encourage you to look at it.
It is on YouTube. It did make the rounds.
Good.
So they are releasing it. I don't really know what else to say. Obviously, I was at a Kickers game, so could not join the press conference. I'll also be at one next weekend. So
no one could. There was none one. That's what I'm saying.
Are you sure they didn't at least? Usually they send the link. I'm going to look. Usually they do send the link out.
If they sent, okay, here's the deal. They either sent the link and no one joined it, or they didn't send the link and no one joined it. So the result is the same. I'm not sure what the process looked like.
I'm going to look. So the interim head coach, there's the press conference. I'm trying to find, because they had to have sent it out.
Did they?
Apparently, maybe there were some technical issues. Yeah, they did send out a link to the Zoom for the press conference against Montreal.
Just no one attended. I could have joined. It could have been just me asking him 30 questions.
Yeah, it's really dire.
It is.
It's really dire when it comes to the availability and the press coverage that is going to happen to this team. Obviously, Stephen Goff has left the Washington Post. The Washington Post has replaced him with no one. There were, I believe, a post from Stephen. Oh, don't worry, Thomas Floyd will cover it. And there's some, and I apologize. I know Thomas Floyd a lot better. I don't know the other person, and I feel terrible about that. Who also covers, I think, a lot of the Spirit for the Washington Post.
Ella Brockway.
But no one's covering that. No one's covering the Spirit either. So, and the Spirit are like the one team that you feel like deserves that coverage. And I canceled my subscription. I was like, I'm done. I'm finished. It's over.
The Washington Post and DC United have a very similar transfer policy right now. They're not bringing in too many names. Names are leaving, but no one's coming in, except for one. potentially. Why don't we start with that? That's the most exciting thing. Let's talk about why don't we talk about this game, this draw?
Well, I do want to talk because I think
do that first.
I think there are some things. Obviously, it's Rennie Wheeler's first game. I don't know if there are any changes. Maybe some interesting caveats. 1-1 draw. Nice goal from.
Aaron,
I can't believe your boy Jackson Hopkins scores.
I know. This is the only part that's exciting about it. I commented on the Instagram post about it. Yeah, Jackson Hopkins finally, he had up to now was the player on DC United with the most amount of games and minutes played without a goal scored. And now that's done.
Most amount, I guess, in a league goal score. Remember, he did score in the Open Cup against Charlotte.
Sure. Okay. Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Well, in goals that count. In goals that count.
Wow. I am totally telling Jackson Hopkins that you forgot his first. Goals that count.
Goals that count. Did we win that tournament?
Do you hear yourself right now?
Yeah, I went to Nashville and watched that dream be snuffed out, so I don't think it really counted if we really think about it in the grand scheme of things.
Goals that count. I cannot believe you just said that.
Anyway,
wow.
So Jackson J. Hopkins 9,000 numbers has finally scored, has opened his league account, the one that you can find on MLSsoccer.com. So that was exciting. It was a great goal. It took some doing. It wasn't sort of a tap in. He definitely had I think it was, you could see him like he has never been a guy afraid to shoot. If you look at like his shots per minute, like they're high for the position he played on the field. But I think Wheeler is looking at moving him further forward, which was, if you remember, if you old DC United heads may remember, that was where he came in. He came in as a 10/winger. He sometimes played forward for the academy, played all over there, and then went back to the defensive midfield position after he was hurt and returned as sort of a need. I think it was need based more than anything else. Yeah. But he finds himself in the right spot and opens his account. I was really happy for him.
It was interesting to watch him. It seemed like you had Cervania and Peltola, who Peltola I also thought actually had a pretty good game in sort of that center midfield. It was very, very noticeable. I think I am off I think we've given enough chances to Borisy now. I am officially like removing myself from that train. Because as soon as he came in for Jackson Hopkins, like everything just seemed to like dissolve as far as any sort of coherent attacking structure for this team. But it was interesting. Like they almost like Rennie Wheeler told Jackson Hopkins, like, you're going to be sort of the front of that press because he was the one that was pressing the midfield, pressing the defense, trying to win the ball, make things uncomfortable. And to his credit, I think that pressure contributed to him getting that goal scoring chance and that goal scoring opportunity because Montreal found it really difficult to play it out of the back, to try to move the ball. DC was doing a very good job of sort of clamping down. The quality sort of to capitalize on that isn't really there at this point. But it was interesting to see kind of, I think we all kind of came in, how is Rennie Wheeler going to play this team? Maybe he will transition them more into a boring defensive team. I think that's what a lot of people have said, but have said that's how he kind of likes to play. Maybe it's just like, well, this team is used to pressing a little bit. Don't really have time to really make any changes. So we're just going to, try some different things, try some smaller revelations instead of like a big turnaround. But
it's hilarious that the drama to get him in the door gave him no week preparations on the road to Montreal and then Inter Miami as the next game. Like that unfortunate timing for him to start, but he got a point on the road that I think probably you or I was not predicting, even though Montreal is real bad. Also, I don't think that was point on the road was in my book.
Nope. I wouldn't say either. Other things, I guess, and we did get a question that came in about this. I wanted to go. We got some question. I'm sorry. Looking for it. We did actually get a question related to this, and
does Rene's visa impact being on the same page with Ali for acquisitions during this window?
No, that was one I wanted to wait for, but fine.
Well, I thought it was that one. Then I'm not reading that one. It didn't happen.
Well, we'll read it in a little bit. There was a question. I really want to find it now because I want to see it. But then we got the Clark rumor, and that kind of took away of that. But basically, the question revolved around: was there anything you saw from Rennie Wheeler's account? I guess you could say that.
DC Ulysses says anything from the new coach's first game that gives you hope. Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
I like. It didn't work out, but I like him putting Aaron Herrera further up the field. I like shaking that bottle up a little bit and trying to see what works. I think giving a vote of confidence for Jackson Hopkins to do the same. I think he seems like a player who is less concerned about positionality and then getting players who are most dangerous and most talented closer to goal and closer to chance creation spots. So, I mean, that's basic, but I think that based on the amount of time he had to work with the team, which was none, basically, and based on the time he's had to build a roster, which is, again, none. Although I'm pretty sure that work visa or no, he's been in contact and understanding for quite some time about the players he wants. So that, I don't buy that for a minute. I think if they don't sign but one player this window, that was desired, because they have been hunting this man for months. They've been in conversations for months. So Ian will have known what he wanted for a while and should have been shopping if that was what he wanted.
Yeah, no, I think there had to have been at least some conversations, even if it's, I don't know, I usually like this type of player in the interview, or this type of player, or there's a stack of players that they are considering, or that they are trying to look at. I agree with you about, playing. I like seeing Jackson Hopkins sort of playing in a more advanced role. That was a really good thing. Also got to give credit to Lucas McNaughton stepping into this game and playing. I thought he did a pretty good job of very much locking down. I think it was Prince Owusu. Didn't really give him many opportunities. They did a really good job. If you look at the stats, you could see where the passes in the final third were all kind of out to the side. It really was difficult, unless sans a really bad giveaway from Cervania, who also helped win the goal for Jackson Hopkins. But that they did a good job of kind of like locking things down and really not giving Montreal too many chances in the first half. Second half was a little rougher. I think you saw some changes in the midfield, some changes around the attack that kind of made it that made it a little more difficult. And also Christian Benteke nearly heading the ball into his own net, forced a great save from Luis Barraza on that front. And Barraza, I thought, again, had a solid game. He continues to be just a solid goalkeeper out there.
Yeah, it's wild though. Like when you look at the goals conceded number, like even I think Brandon Cartwright had another one of his many, many awesome statistical posts comparing how many goals he has let in compared to other DC United goaltenders, and it's not flattering, but it's just like last year with Bono, and saying like, if the defense is dog ass, like it's so hard to evaluate goalkeeper. He has made a number of saves. I don't know the stats in front of me, sort of his expected goals prevented, but he's to my the lion eyes, I feel like he's made a bunch of saves that were full stretch that would have gone in the net otherwise. So, but it's really hard to say, would you want him back next year? I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. If you think, and we talked about, we really didn't talk about, I don't think we were here to really discuss Kim Jung-hong, obviously playing against New England in the last game, getting a start, getting an opportunity. That boy looks cooked, just completely and utterly cooked right now. He is a young goalkeeper. I think he will be here next year. I don't see any indication, unless he is just truly miserable, which might be the case. He might want to just go back to South Korea, and you might get a pretty, maybe not the exact hefty fee you paid for, but you might get a pretty decent fee from a team in Korea to send him back there. But I think you maybe see a new coach. Maybe you'll see him come back. I think that is going to be, it's definitely been a wake up call as far as MLS. Maybe the offseason can kind of, refresh him a little bit, give him, some added focus, a chance to like really settle in to DC, which is difficult right now. And
you should go on loan in the offseason. He should go find a league that's in. He needs minutes. He can go play somewhere. If he like in our off season is like 2 months. It's like November, December, basically. Maybe some of January, most of January.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough. I don't know. I don't really know. It seems like confidence is so important for a goalkeeper, and it's just, you could not imagine a new coach coming in here having the rest of this season to avoid the wooden spoon. Essentially, that is the mission. Should he choose to accept it, is don't finish last. You can't imagine him going into a new season and be like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's try this again. I have confidence in myself to develop goalkeepers. We're going to start with you. You have the job. Good luck. Here's all of our confidence is behind you. I can't see it. I think you gotta like you said, even if you are getting basically what is the plastic bottle recycling fee back for sending him back, that's what you got to do. Probably. I just can't imagine starting the season off with him. And he needs a vote of confidence, and he needs to play. So it does nothing for him to stay on the bench here. It does nothing for us to have a goalkeeper that you don't trust, and I hope he figures it out. You could throw him out here the rest of the season, since this season the only thing to win is to not be the worst, which I don't really care about anymore. But I don't think he's gonna do that either.
I think there is a chance you see him play and start maybe one more game. I could see maybe him being rolled out.
What's our friendly? Who's our friendly again? Club America, right?
Yes, Club America.
There you go. He'll play that one.
See, probably.
and get 9 dropped on his head.
Timothy says, still no new signings. Well, Timothy,
what if we told you?
What if we told you that there is an actual signing coming through? We said it in the beginning of the show. You probably missed it. But yes, there is apparently is agreed in principle, according to Tom Bogart, between DC United and Montreal, who they just played, for Caden Clark. $700,000 in cash transfer, cash trade transfer, however you want to talk about it, is coming into the team. This is a player, obviously a former New York Red Bull, former Minnesota United, and then eventually moved to Montreal. He is 22, so he will apparently occupy a U22 slot.
When does he turn 23?
He turns 23 next year.
Okay, then we can do it.
Yep, you can sign him, and you can basically extend his contract. You can offer he just turned 22 in May, so a very young player, a player who had a lot of promise. I believe, if I recall correctly, like he had some weird thing where like he went overseas. I think he was part of that Red Bull. He was part of that whole Red Bull group. I think he might have gone to Salzburg. Yeah,
no, Leipzig, right? Was it Leipzig? I think it was Leipzig.
It might have been. It was Leipzig, and then he was loaned back to Red Bulls. Went back to Red Bulls had another loan for, I have no idea where this club is. There is a club in, goodness gracious, why can't I not
see? Oh boy,
Danish.
It's in, yeah. Van Dijssel.
Yeah, and then was traded to Minnesota United, and then eventually moved on to Montreal. So this is obviously still 22 years old, still a young player. Has not had, really, the last time you could say he had really successful season was 2021, when he had 4 goals for the Red Bulls, and of course that was when he was 16-17. This is a guy that was like immediately thought of as being one of the top talents to come to the league. He was on his way up to the Bundesliga, to Leipzig. It seemed like the sky was the limit. And then unfortunately just kind of never really happened for him. He really kind of struggled at Red Bulls, didn't really live up to the promise, moved on obviously to Minnesota, and again kind of just didn't do well in Minnesota, did okay in Montreal. I don't know, like I posted this online. I posted the FB Ref, which if you go to our Blue Sky page, it is a little rich considering you look at the FB Ref and the underlying numbers and the stats, pretty similar to Ted Pietro, and Ted Pietro was again sold for $1 million. So we're getting a $300,000 like.
There we go. That's the opportunity cost fee we're getting there for not having a player all year. For
not having a player all year. Yeah, I won't admit I have not watched much of Montreal. I know that he is a player.
And why would you?
Yeah, why would you? Exactly. I never really also saw him much. Maybe I'll check out a couple games, see maybe how he looks, how he brings a little bit now that I know he's coming here. I don't know. Did he play against the game against DC? Maybe that's
I didn't notice him. So if he did, that's not good.
Yeah.
We're going to hope that he didn't play.
I think I will state, I like from a pure perspective of what should we, the U22 slot, I think is the biggest.
He did play.
He did
74
play.
minutes. 74 minutes. Yikes.
He started. And honestly, maybe that was a trial and Rennie was like, hey, he looks good. We should bring him in.
I love how he looks against us. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, this is still a player. I think this player was also making some national team appearances, I believe I saw.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, so it's a young talent, clearly a guy who has struggled. Apparently, according to, I believe I saw one of the sources in Montreal, that apparently he was offered $100,000 to re-sign. And he was like, I'm on $375,000, so you're asking me to take $200,000 pay cut. You can get out of here. I'll go somewhere else.
No, absolutely not.
And so... and the team also, I think, is maxed out, I think, on their U22 slots, or maybe they're planning on bringing in a DP. I'll have to go look at their roster profile. But, they apparently couldn't use him as a U22 slot, and we could. So I like the idea of him being a U22. I think that lowers his cap hit. He's not an international. He's not going to take out an international slot. I would rather us go out and maybe sign this type of profile player in that U22 slot than rolling the dice on some international player where it's literally you'll get Gabriel Pirani. I would take maybe a Caden Clark who has been successful in this league, is a huge talent, comfortable in this league, can come right in, and rather than trying to roll the dice on a sort of unproven talent in the lower South American divisions. Again, they've talked a lot about this sort of U22, and the problem with it is, yes, you can spend unlimited amounts of money to buy a player, but even that sort of has a limit then when you get to the contract negotiation. If you're spending $20 million on a player, you're not going to get him for $500,000 a year. He's going to want $1 million or $1.5 million a year. So that's the real sort of limiting factor of the U22 slot. So
we are. I think the idea here is you're buying a player that had high potential that has not fulfilled that potential on a discount, with the understanding that the coach you're hiring is the most experienced manager you've ever had at your club, and that he can turn him into something that is approaching, a contributor. I don't think anyone's expecting him to rocket back to the national team. I don't think anyone's expecting him necessarily, even at this 700,000 cash transfer. I don't think they're necessarily, that's, a little bit, that's 300,000 more than we paid in GAM for Kojima, who, so I'm just put this in the right context about expectations about what this player is going to be. The struggle is that this player is maybe all we're going to get this window. So there's going to be a heaped, it's going to be like, why aren't you Christian Benteke? Like, why are we not able to put our hopes upon you? He either will work or won't work. I don't think that we're going to be crashed out either way, however this transfer goes. It's a good move, and from the reasons that you explained about how he fits into the roster breakdown, the fact that he doesn't take the international spot, the fact that we didn't have to use up any other actual salary assets. We use money, real dollars, which only comes out of somebody else's pocket. It doesn't affect the salary cap for next year or any mechanism for acquiring players over budget. So I don't think you can be really mad. The only thing you'd be mad about is that this is it, or this is likely it. That's reasonably to be mad about that.
You can be mad about the fact that this team basically, sold a player in Ted Kudu-Pietro who was a fan favorite, who was loved by this team, who honestly was on a bigger upside than Caden Clark is right now.
He's on the up path, and then Caden is clearly on the down arc.
Yeah, and sold him out, and then got, that was a player profile you felt like was missing from this team, because, Ted Kudu-Pietro wasn't an elite chance creator, but he was certainly a better chance creator, and we saw that in some of his games. And then, then bringing in Caden Clark. I can see some people in the chat and people thinking that we're rose-colored glasses on this team. This season has been an absolute friggin' waste. This has been a waste of a year. This has been a year where literally nothing has been gained. I don't think we've gotten a good assessment of some of the players that we brought in. The one positive signing you could say maybe is Joao Peglo, but he's been hurt. He's hurt right now, and we don't really have any details on when he'll be back.
And he typically is.
Yeah. And, you look at the defensive signings, haven't been enough. Nothing about what this team has done has been enough. They are not going to walk out of here with a designated player, which is what I said is, and that is a failure. I'm relieved a little bit that at least there's something else to look at. Caden Clark's first game will be a moment to at least see.
It's something, guys. It's something.
It's something new to evaluate this team, because for weeks upon end, it's been the same. Even this game was a little bit of the same. A little bit more of the same. How is this different from last season?
It's a different year. The year is changed over. There's a new coach. All right. So before we had a coach whose LinkedIn page would have is very short and not impressive, and this guy's is super long and not super impressive, but it's at least very long. You can say he's been to a lot of places. He's older. I think this is the move that should have been made from the start. We talked about as the signings happen, as the original coach signing happened, you bring in a young, unproven former assistant GM to run soccer operations for DC United, and then hire a coach with not a resume long enough to sort of like help him out. It was two people being thrown into the deep end together with like very small oars to paddle the boat. And that just didn't make a lot of sense to me from the start. It didn't make sense to tie. If I'm Mackay, I'm not tying my first big major hire. And there's also rumors that this was not the guy he wanted to hire, but to someone so unproven, if I'm trying to make sure that I make it through my contract and beyond. So that's the only thing you could really be looking at and I have very little optimism. I want to be clear. The only optimism I have is that this coach has at least, something to look back on. He's won trophies in other places. That's a rarity for any coach that we brought in. He has a breadth of experience, not just coaching, but also doing the player development side and the acquisition side. So we were talking about, it's great that Mackay has an experience as an agent. This guy was a sporting director at a European club that played in Champions League, or at least in Europa League. Servette plays in Champions League sometimes.
Yeah,
maybe not.
In the sweat.
They definitely do in the women's championship. Anyway, that's the difference. From a roster perspective, we've cleared up some bad debt. We have less players under contract for 26 and 7 than we did before. But the ones that we do, I don't love either. So I think we're in a better salary cap position. I don't have apparently the Soccer Way cap numbers say that we're not. I don't think we have a Patreon, so I haven't looked at it, but if anyone knows. Yeah. They were saying we're in a bad spot. I just don't know that we are.
Yeah, and I can't imagine we are. I think I believe I think it was in either the transfer needs or something that Matt Doyle posted. He said, rip the team down to the studs. And I'm like, we're pretty much for the most part, ripped down to the studs. I don't understand.
A team with one DP is largely ripped to stud.
Yeah, I mean, we got one DP on this roster, one active DP on this roster. We are pretty much ripped down to the studs. Let's get to the question that I apologize. I rudely, Chase James Nola says, does Reina's visa impact in being on the same page with Ali for acquisitions during this window? They're in the ticket sales business and they need something to point to. Paul, Russell, Zoltan weren't household names at the time, but this could be interesting to casual fans and obviously worked out. I think what you have to understand, first of all, to your first question, the reason, I think as far as their acquisitions go, I don't know how many discussions they've had. I don't know as far as appealing to a designated player right now. Apparently they were looking at Luquinhos, I think was what they were doing. And then things kind of soured with obviously they were going to get rid of the coach and that kind of all just fell by the wayside. I don't know. I mean, again, as we talked about earlier, there is no one really covering this team. Tom Bogart is pretty much the only source that had any sort of news other than coming from Montreal. So no one is really covering this team at all. So I think that possibly impacts the news we're getting. We don't have Stephen Goff anymore. Yeah, I want to think that there had to have been some discussions with Rennie. Honestly, if one of us had been if anyone gets on that isn't from the team, maybe that's a question that's asked. Are we planning on any signings coming up? We have 3 days till the window closes, and I guess they'll probably do a press conference on Thursday. So we might know by then whether this will be the only move. I would say at this point, I don't think we've heard anything. I would say at this point, this is the only move. This will be the only move. For better or worse, they're going to reload and eventually try to find somebody in the window. I think that's going to be challenging.
It's very hard to imagine that we're not ripped down to the studs when we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 players under contract for the next year and beyond. How is that not? I mean, it's of those players, only 6 are above $1 million. So, and that's the thing that's really challenging, right? All right, I'm going to name you the 6 players that are over $1 million contract that we have contracted for 26 or 27. David Schnegg, $1.2 million. I think that's fine. I think that's good. That was for value for dollar. He's under contract for another year beyond this one. June is a dagger at $1 million, but I think they're going to
again his cap hit.
Yes.
Yeah, his cap hit is 200.
But if we're talking about a resource constrained team, that's probably not something we want to spend money on. Peglo at $1 million, great. I mean, he needs to stay healthy, but $1 million doesn't sink you of a player that can actually change the game. Lucas Bartlett on $1.3 million, that was tough. So we looked at him last year and he overperformed expectations.
Where are you getting the 1 point?
Gross remaining salary for the rest of his contract, because he has 3 years. So we have $1.3 million over 3 years left of his contract. And Peglo's $1 million over 3 years. That's got to be Gam heavy there. Boris Enow. I mean, I think we said it from the start, and that has been proven out. That was a miss. And Matty Peltola under contract, $2.2 million left for over 3 years. He doesn't seem happy. I don't know how you continue this. Basically, I just I don't know.
It'll be curious to see how he adapt. Sometimes the new coach can come in. He might be saying, how these next few games go. He might be willing. I thought he was pretty good in the last game against Montreal. Okay, Montreal, but I thought he was pretty good. I still have not given up on the Matty Peltola train about him being a potentially a pretty good player for us. I think, yeah, and again, Timothy saying has to go. Yep, I would agree. I would agree with you. Yeah. What do we think? So, what do we think about the Kane Clark move? What does this mean for our favorite player, Gabriel Pirani?
I think it doesn't mean much. I don't think it's a 1-for-1 toss out. I think you look at this. There's not a guarantee that Caden Clark has to start for us. I mean, we should because we're the worst team in the league, and you want to probably put your assets on there. But if you look at the bench and other options we have, you could keep a Pirani and the Caden Clark. If you have an offer for Pirani, you should absolutely exercise it, as we've said.
And apparently they do.
So take it. Say yes. Like if you got rid of him and had Caden Clark, I think it's probably a push. Overall, Caden Clark has a bit more chance creation in his toolkit historically, but there are people who have been very convinced by the 5. Is it Pirani has 5 goals this year?
Yes,
I think they come in bunches. Yeah. Some people have become convinced. I saw somebody today on the Discord saying we've got our attacking 3 figured out. I don't know why they're adding attacking players. I'm like, bro, I don't think we have anything figured out on this club, much less Pirani figured out to be anything other than a guy that if someone comes calling, you take the deal. I think the same for Peltola, but I understand you having a different opinion. But I think this does nothing and doesn't change anything for Pirani.
Timmy said if Peltola wants to go, they should let him go. Maybe I would agree with that at this point. But I will tell you, man, I have posted this. You remember how much FB Ref just hated Gabriel Pirani. His number one comparison right now is Diego Luna. I just want to say, his
gag
shot. Is shot creating actions 63 percentile, so not perfect, but better. I mean, that was like his lowest stat at one point.
It was like 7.
And there have been some times when I feel like he's made some good passes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, where he's kind of found the right spots, or he's looked a little bit more confident. If
he hadn't, we would not be getting these calls for him.
Yep. And I think that's what's maybe elevated his game a little bit. I don't think. Guess who the other comparison player is, by the way. I want you to guess.
For who? For Pirani?
He's a Brazilian. Is a comparison for a Brazilian listed here.
In MLS?
He plays at Vasco da Gama right now.
Is it Neymar? Does Neymar play for Vasco da Gama?
No. It's Felipe. That's just funny to see. And Albert Rusnak also on this list of comparison players. Just to unbelieve, really numbers. Emil Forsberg is on this list. I am starting.
What a weird list. This list is this.
On the list of similar players. Oh man, that is quite interesting. I don't know what to make of that. I really, really don't. But
Nicholas says about Peltola, my 5-year-old and I met Peltola at the friendly. He told me that my son would start playing on a team this month. Peltola said, "Good, you can save us in a few years." Nice.
That's cool.
He's got the right sense of humor, the right gallows humor. I will be very curious to see what this. I have no read on the team's vibes right now. No one's covering the team. That hurts to not know. And none of these players are the kind to speak online. So it's kind of it's a struggle to not know how everyone's feeling. I assume everyone feels like garbage being in last place, but I would like to know how they feel about the new coach.
Yeah, and we got Hoya's TCU says, just me, it's strange how quiet TCU has been about the new coach. No puff pieces on social media. No effort to help fans understand his philosophy or personality.
It is weird.
I will say, he just did get his visa. I don't think you're going to see him do many media stuff.
Why was that not in the can? You had 2 weeks. You had a month and a half to write that puff piece.
But as far as sitting down for an interview, and also I think the idea is also that Stevie Goff is no longer there. So there probably would have been some sort of piece on him. And now there's nobody. So we'll see. I don't know. And I think he pretty much got his visa and then he had to jump on a plane. I think you will start hear some things. What they've got the break coming up in September where they're going to have the friendly. That's going to be maybe an opportunity to maybe see some content. If we don't see anything there, then we know things are truly pretty bad right now. Someone asks, "Is y'all realize the U22 was designed to sign foreign young players?" Sure, that is a benefit of the U22 initiative spot, but it's not the only reason. It's actually been very effective at keeping players, young players in MLS, offering them more money, allowing them to take a less of a cap hit. It's been utilized to have players being traded and transferred within the league, and also take up those U22 slots. So
also those hit rate. Also, the hit rate across the league has been very low on those spots for international spots.
Go look at the list of U22 players that have signed, and the hit rate is extremely small. Usually, the only players that seem to really hit big are the ones that were like they managed to get in on a low number, and they were just highly touted elsewhere, and then they managed to sell. I think there was like a Chicago player who's now at like Aston Villa or something.
Is it John Duran?
I think so. Yeah. I think he was on a U22 slot. So
I think that it's like meme coins. Like they're just like, go spend $5,000 on Dogecoin and maybe it'll be worth a lot of money someday. But maybe it won't. Maybe it'll worth 5 cents.
Yeah.
Forget the new coach. Give us more seafood towers. Well, I have seen less of those things, by the way. I don't know if that's just my algorithm and the fact that I unsubscribed from DC United marketing emails recently. But I have seen less about the luxury box experiences in places. I think they may have realized that was a little bit too much. So I think that's it for DC United. Oh yeah. I have seen a lot of things about people talking about season tickets. I do feel like I think before we've always said like, do whatever you feels right. I think, understanding why you wouldn't want to do it. I think people should decline. I think people should not renew their tickets. I think that is officially my position is do not buy season tickets for 2026. They have not earned the benefit of the doubt. If you like going, buy tickets the day of, take advantage of their promo deals where you get more tickets and food or beer for less than the cost you would get for your season ticket. People who have season tickets cannot give them away. So don't buy them. There's no reason to support the team in that way because they have not proven that they deserve it. And particularly this is like the worst. I mean, they've got another month until the renewals go out. But this is like the worst lead up to that deadline that their marketing and ticket sales people could have ever conceived of. There's just nothing. It's dead. So don't.
Until this team turns around, until they actually show that they can make a successful team on the field. This again, I've said it earlier. Don't confuse any sort of analysis, any sort of devil's advocate about how this could be how this signing could work out, or maybe you see the logic in it. Don't confuse that with that. I agree with anything this year has been an unmitigated disaster on so many fronts about this team. They have been so bad, and it has been at the absolute worst time. This team is already, I mean, they're about to be mathematically eliminated, but they are very much out of the playoff picture, anything like that. They're out of the playoff picture. They are going to miss the playoffs again for the 6th straight year. So, all right. Yep. I think that does it for DC. Let's jump into maybe a good team. Let's jump into the Washington Spirit, who, by the way, are in El Salvador right now, like we said, playing in the CONCACAF Women's Champions League, which I'm excited about.
They play tomorrow night. I'm going to the home game against, I don't know who, it's like Vancouver Fever Academy team or something that's going on. I feel like the Spirit should win by 37 goals. I'm not certain, but I'm taking my daughter. We're going to be the third row. That paid $17 for the ticket. It's going to be something. This is only her second soccer game. I feel like I may be giving her like pure uncut, like too crazy stuff. Like I love the things that I remember the most. And I was older, obviously, when I started going to DC United games. But the thing I remember the most are like the Superliga games with like 75 people in the stands. Like I remember that acutely. So I'm hoping that this leaves a mark on her. Like this was weird. I could hear everything everyone was saying. I was like, yes, hope that's what you remember. But yeah, the Spirit are a team. The only good. What's the misery index thing you kept talking about? Who's putting that on? Is that ESPN?
ESPN is putting on the misery index, yes, and including. And granted, I think the Capitals are a little overrated on that misery index. I don't know. Maybe I'm somebody who just the playoff. Yes, they won the cup in 2018, but everything else has been a little bit meh as far as they're concerned. So maybe they're properly rated. I think they were like right in the middle. And everybody's like, oh, well, the Ovechkin goal chase. I'm like, that was nice, but like
it was.
It was really crappy to bomb out in the playoffs again for the second round when you had a team that was actually pretty decent.
But that's like the that's the baseline for the Capitals. That's sort of like that's the table stakes.
But anyway, yes, you look at DC United are the second highest team in the misery index of MLS teams. Chicago actually being number one with 100, the DC United at 96. So it was very funny to watch. And then literally you looked at the Spirit, and the Spirit are a 0, which is 0 is good. That means your team is not.
No misery
whatsoever. And that is pretty much apparent. I think I had the meme post of like the Spider-Man holding back the bus from the kid, and it's like DC Sports Misery Index and Washington Spirit literally holding up all
and
of it.
That's a Spirit team that has had approximately 37 head coaches in the last 5 years, and they're still finding their way. They still find their way to on-field success now at this point. But just a couple of things. We're not going to get too deep into the game. I think that as you've noticed, our coverage has diminished in this space as I have no longer been going to the games to watch them all. And I think Hey Spirits has done a really great job filling that void, and recommend everybody listen to them for that. But just a few points that I wanted to point out. The Sofia Cantore goal was just ridiculous as a entree into like your first action, your first start, your first game, your first start for the Spirit. To score that goal was bananas. That is sort of her game. If you look, you don't get on the Ballon d'Or list for nothing. You don't get on there just for, well, sometimes you do. I shouldn't say that. There have been some on the list you kind of wonder why. She's not one of those. So she earned her spot on there. Great to see that. Great to see her score that goal. I think Spirit fans have been wondering, like, there's a lot of new players coming in on the attacking side. Ashley Hatch obviously out having a baby. Lazar, obviously, I don't think ever playing again, at least not for the Spirit. Seems like never coming back. Gift Monday has been a revelation scoring. I think this is her. I think she's got 5 or 6 goals already this season in a very short amount of time. But this was a really great acquisition. Doesn't have a lot of speed. Saw her on the wing get sort of. I think her and Kate Wiesner were sort of overlapping. Kate's a little bit faster. Cantore does not appear to be a speed merchant. But that I think that's the fact that she took that shot and scored it in that way, I think says a lot about her confidence and ability. So Spirit fans got lucky again. Not got lucky. Enjoy this, I guess I'd say.
Yeah. And it's go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then I have been talking about Rose, about Kouassi saying sort of like, this woman cannot finish. She can set up, she can dribble her way out of a phone booth, but she cannot finish, and it's driving me insane. And if she could finish 25% of her shots or 25% of her like 1 XG opportunities, she would be, an every game penciled in starter. Finally did it. She did all the stuff she normally did. She pushed the ball forward. She got past the defender, shouldered her way to the right. I will say that the goalkeeper she kind of guessed that the ball was going to go to the far upper 90, and if she had maybe stayed a little bit sooner, she would have been able to get more of a hand on it, and she had to reach back for it. But you got to give her credit for the goal, okay, for saving the game in stoppage time. After, I would say the game was being officiated in a way driving Spirit fans insane, and I don't think Ted got a chance to dig into the second half enough to like. But there were a lot of yellow cards. There were lots of sort of stoppages of play where the squadron were just going insane. I mean, great to get that point. I think to steal it. The Spirit are the antithesis of United in the fact that when it's late, you're thinking they're going to pull this out. You're thinking more likely than not they're going to figure it out, figure out a way to do it. In DC United, there's just no hope at all. And if it happens, it's a miracle. But the Spirit are just operating. They have so much talent on the field. And if I was talking to my friend during the game, as you look at this lineup, over the last 2 years, they have turned this team into like an international, like all-star team in a lot of ways. Like they have upped the level of quality at every position in a noticeable way, and are filling the gaps with players to sort of like complement that. You're not seeing sort of the depth be forced into positions where you're seeing, a recent draftee get 15 starts a game or a year. It's just not happening anymore. Kudos to the Spirit for building this team out on the fly, having these injuries and having players leave for maternity leave that are major parts of the team, and not seeming to miss a beat so far.
Yeah.
Although I hope Andy gets back at the end of the year. I don't know if she will.
Yeah, well, I'll be curious to see what the back half of the season looks like. Obviously, the big player coming back is Trinity Rodman, who's now starting to get herself more and more. Maybe we'll see her start. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see her start in this game in El Salvador, but maybe next league game you'll see her get an opportunity. You'll see her get a start. The only thing I wish the coaching situation was just a little more settled for this team, because that whole situation's just been a little awkward trying to navigate that. But the team, it does look very good. I think really, and also to me, Adrian Gonzalez, I don't know. I thought the team played, again, I talked about this earlier, I thought the team played better when Adrian Gonzalez was there, and then Geraldo's came in and it was still good, but it just wasn't. And again, injuries maybe were, but I felt really like we were not expecting this team to be that good last year, and Adrian Gonzalez got them humming. Where I felt like they were just going to really tick off. Corey Bethune also, I will say,
she's back to cooking.
Yeah, she's back to cooking. She looks really good. I think still trying to, I am looking forward to seeing Trinity Rodman sort of step back in to the field full time. I think that will kind of help her have somebody she's maybe a little more comfortable with. But yeah, man, you look at Lacey Santos, again, excellent player, Bethune. And then you got Couture just like loading up in her first game and just like unleashing just a rocket of a goal. And Gift Monday, again, I think has been one of the best sort of new signings that the Spirit have had in a long time. Just absolutely coming in, and you can see how much of a difference she makes out there in the field. So one of the more fun players to watch. And
coming from not a really acclaimed background, still very, very young in her career, coming from like not a elite team out of Spain, kind of as opposed to Cantore, who's coming from Juventus. It's a different expectation set, and Gift Monday has exceeded, I think, whatever anyone's expectations they had for her. So also Paige Mateer makes her way back to the field for the first time this year. So congrats to her for coming back from a injury that I think took longer than anyone thought. It was a preseason injury. I didn't think it would get all the way to now. But, pity the fools that still have to play the Spirit on the second half of the season, because they're healthy now. Knock on the loudest wood possible. But for right now and going into this tournament, they have a good roster to choose from. I think that they should use these games. You were asking if Trinity starts. I think they really should figure out a way to get a lot of minutes for Lacey Santos coming back from international duty, maybe just like a little bit because she's on more tired legs. But these players coming back from long-term injury, give them an opportunity to play with the attack, the play with the starters, basically. Like don't have Trinity and like all of the backups play. Like give them some time together, because that's really going to pay them off in the second half of the season. The top half of the NWSL standings are pretty tight. I think we're in fifth now.
We're in fourth
or fifth. Okay.
Yeah, we're in fourth right now. We have the Pride are again tied on points, but we're again a little less on better on goal differential for them. And I don't know if wins, or it probably wins and then goal differential. And then 1 point. San Diego Wave have 1 point on us as well. And then the Current are far ahead. They are going to win the Supporters Shield, or the regular season championship for the NWSL. They're at 40 points right now. They have 13 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses.
They're the Orlando Pride of this year, basically.
Yeah. So they're an extremely good team. But I don't know. I guess do you want to probably still try to target that number 2 seed again? Unfortunately, their away game, their games are favorable. I would say their last remaining league games: Bay FC, Chicago Stars, Seattle Reign, and then they play on the road against KC Current. That's probably the one.
That's a loss.
That's the 1-0 game. But you never know, man. Hey, they are a team that's coming together. So, and then of course, on the road to Angel City FC. So they have sort of a bottom half, I guess, sort of roster minus the game against the Current. So
that game on the road against the Current will be a really good sort of examination of Adrian Gonzalez's like sort of tactical mindset. Figuring out a way to get points in that game on the road would be something that he could put a feather in his head about. I wanted to also call out and applaud the Spirit Squadron and the rest of the stadium in the 51st minute doing a free DC chant for the whole minute. And I commend the CBS team for shutting up and letting that just ride for a full minute. I think that was something that you'd not see on other teams. You wouldn't see sort of the team write a letter to DC talking about what's going on right now. So
well,
good for them for doing it.
You would have expected one other team to also do something like this, but well, they didn't.
They didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good.
We don't got to say anything. Everybody knows.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we need to drop, or I think that'll just about do it.
That's it. 52 minutes, 53 minutes. Not so bad.
Not so bad for being back. All right, folks, that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for listening again. We appreciate you guys coming in. Somehow, like even though I think our content has like dropped off, we're still getting people that are signing up at patreon.com/RFK Refugees.
Thank you for doing that. Particularly, Thank you to the sickos that are signing up now.
Yeah.
There's been a couple people signing up now. I love you because this is not a fruitful relationship for either of us, but I appreciate your support.
If this team ever actually does put it together and go on a cup run, you can like raise that you signed up at the absolute lowest moment. I think I posted the last title. I said for DC United, I said rock bottom has a basement. I don't know. Maybe Caden Clark is the light out of that basement, but probably not. I think we got some more rough waters ahead of us. All right, folks, that's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Vamos.
Ending on the high moment of hope.